Hello, so welcome again to Jmeter in 100 Minutes course. This is the third part where we are going to cover some of the elements that are equally important for you as performance testers as the ones that we've discussed so far. We'll cover extractors, so things or elements you can use on the responses, and not only in order to get and parse some data. Then how really are we going to run the performances? Because I mentioned at the beginning of this course, we are not doing that from graphical user interfaces. So we are going to create some scripts to help us do that, and also we look into some option to generate some basic reports, and we'll conclude with showing you how to debug your tests except for the graphical user interface. You can have a look at the logs, and we're going to do just that. So let's move on now to the next branch. In this part, we'll use XPath extractor to process response content and also check if Google page contains links to Gmail. And then we'll turn it into assertion. So let's go back to our test. So we want to extract something from the Google main page that we are calling here. As you remember, we've defined the URL in here, and then there are requests, an HTTP request for Google that downloads that page. We want to parse or extract something from that page and put it into a variable or display it. So let's see how our Google page looks like. Well, let's go to google.com, and then in Google Chrome, when you press Ctrl-Shift-C, then you can navigate to JavaScript console. And we can also use that console to see whether some of the XPath extractors or CSS expressions work just fine. We would like to see whether the Gmail links is valid. So for instance, we want to see whether the Gmail link contains mail Google.com, for instance. How are you going to do it? We can use the XPath evaluation expression. That would be the locator in the XPath expression language. In Google Console, you can use SX function in order to see whether the XPath expression that you write is valid. Well, I made a mistake, so probably the equal sign is not necessary. Yeah. So as you can see, we find some elements. Actually, we find two, but for us, it's good enough for demonstration purpose. So that would be the XPath locator for this Gmail link. Now, if we want to use this in our test, we can create one of the extractors for our GET request. Let's do the post processor. Let's use tidy. That means when we evaluate the DOM, because we basically download the HTML page, that if it's not 100% strict, then our XPath extractor can handle that. Let's also make sure that we run this on main sample and subsamples. And Jmeter variable to use is, for instance, Gmail. Okay. Let's name our extractor. And now we need to write a query in XPath language. Let's say we just want to fetch the first match. So if there are many, we just pick the evaluation of the first one. So when the content of the DOM is fetched, then this extractor will evaluate it for existence of such an expression. So whether the element A contains the link to Google.com. If yes, then we'll put the value of that evaluation into a variable called Gmail. We can also set it to some default value. For instance, we can set it to Gmail link there. Okay, so that should work. Let's see whether this compiles okay. Okay, we have some problem. No variable Gmail found to process by XPath extractor, check Google link, skipping processes. Okay, that's because it's not about Jmeter variable name to use. I made a mistake. I should create it here. Well, it looks all good. So if you want to be sure everything went fine, then we should call another postprocessor, for instance, the way we used to do before. For instance, we can use JSR and we can try to display that link is available. So now I expect that for the calls, I will find Gmail available. So Gmail is available. The default value was that, and we just got extracted the value from that link. So that's not the only use case for extractors. You can extract various things. You can also use extractors to do assertions. So the exercise for this part is remove logging Gmail service extractor and instead insert XPath assertion to test we are indeed on good site. Usually you don't do it on the performance test, but sometimes when you perform actions on HTTP side, then if an error is thrown, then you receive HTTP 200. That's why sometimes there is the only way to check whether you're testing the right thing. So if you want to do it your own, then please pause this video. If you want to see the result, then bear with me. So we need to remove that. I'll just save this. And we need to remove that. Then we can insert assertions based on XPath. Main sample and subsamples, we are using tidy, and XPath assertions would be that one. So when we issue the request, we are also checking whether we are on the good page and see that we made a mistake. You can go to here and you can see that no nodes matched, A contains, and this kind of expression. We can go back and see whether we made some error here. This is an assertion on the HTTP GET request. So let's see what do we have here. Well, I think we got confused because we are picking the domain in here. And as you can see, there are multiple GET requests where it works and some where it doesn't. Oh, fuck.